Good evening. I wanted to call this meeting to order. This is the work session meeting of Monday, March 21st, 2022, 6 p.m. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Patel.
Here.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Poyner.
Present.
Councilmembership Freeman.
Here. Adequate notice.
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, Sentinel, and Desi Talk on November 25th, 2021, and posted Main Lobby Municipal Complex on that same date.
I'd like to open up the public to oral petition remarks. Maria, did you want to speak?
Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. There's a couple of things that I wanted to say. First is I'd like to do a cleanup for beautiful Edison by the dog park on March 26th. Anyone that could help, we appreciate it. Anybody that needs volunteer hours. We're also doing through the Environmental Commission the week of, I believe, April 18th, where schools are closed. We'll be doing various locations. So we're looking for a lot of school children to come out. And of course, April 24th will be our Earth Day. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone at the Earth Day celebrations at Lake Papiani. One request, before I had asked if the bus station on Woodbridge and Amboy be fixed. It still has yellow tape on it and it looks atrocious.
Where?
Amboy and Woodbridge. And if we could have any other bus stations along either Amboy or Route 27, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the members of the public would like to speak? Make a motion to,
Motion to close the public portion.
do you have a second, please?
Second.
Patel and Pointer, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the public session is closed. Review of the minutes. Any questions on the minutes, council members? Comments? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the administration. We're adding from the mayor's office an appointment to the Historical Preservation Committee. Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, moving forward to report from all council committees. I'll start from my left. John Pointer, Councilman Pointer.
The Environmental Commission met earlier this week. They will be at Earth Day. They'll have a table there. Outside of that, no other comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Pointer. Councilman Patil.
Done, sir.
Councilman Patel.
None, sir.
Councilmember Brescher.
Only on like 2 committees. We met last month. I don't have anything.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Council Vice President Joyce Shipp.
First, on Monday, I met with the Veterans Committee. And the Veterans Committee, they send out for the stones because it takes a little while to get the stones. They asked me about the DPW digging the ground and stuff, because now that it's getting warmer outside, we need to know when the DPW is going to dig the ground, or who's going to be able to dig the ground to get the project started. And financially, we sent out to the unions, the police unions. I'm waiting to hear back from them, and also waiting to hear back too from the BA about other money that we may happen to get matched from the county. All right, that's what we're asking about. That was the Veterans Committee. We went to the school committee, and the school committee, well, it was really a powerful meeting that day because we happened to have Assemblyman Sterling Stanley there, and we had our mayor there, So all, the heavy hitters were there. What's happening is Sergeant Turner has designed for right now, a new traffic pattern that would help us on Jackson Avenue down at Herbert Hoover. So I'm hearing after I spoke about it today, I'm hearing from the mayor that they're gonna send out some type of announcement because one of the crossing guards called me, asking me about the new pattern. And when people call me and ask me stuff, I try my best to get the best answers I can get for them at all. And we also spoke with the deputy chief coordinator, and once we get everything taken care of, when we get different monies and stuff from the CARES program and from the pandemic and stuff, we're going to move forward with the filming of the programs to introduce our students to the programs and the jobs that are in Edison. And we're going to use Edison's filming because they have this great big film that they use. And then, let's see, they're also checking on Deputy Chief Dudash is checking on those crosswalks, the lighted crosswalks, okay? And we're also looking at the sidewalks on Floyd and on Hollywood, okay? And then on some of our places, we need signage and we need painted lines in the crosswalks because, they're like getting old and they're faded. So if we, highlight them so that everybody should know, and it's a law, that as soon as you step in the crosswalk, every car must stop until you get to the other side. That's the law. So I'm just refreshing people on that. And another good thing that may be happening for our schools is Assemblyman Sterling Stanley and Assemblyman Rob Karabenchek, along with Senator Patrick Dignan. Together, they're all working on a bill for electric buses. And if we are able, and they're able to succeed with that bill, Edison will be the pilot program for the electric buses, which I think will be very, very good for us because that means that they supply the buses. So anything to help the taxpayer, I think that's good. So those are the two meetings I have, and I'm scheduling a meeting for the next month with the law enforcement, and then next with the police department. And one last thing, they talked about, and they went to look for more grants and and then for schools, for a lot of these office buildings we have in town, instead of reinventing the wheel or whatever, some of these places sit vacant, if we could take and make those into like preschools, use them for that type of space, that still will help students get an early start. And everybody knows about the kindergarten, the full-day kindergarten that's starting. So thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you,
the
Council
two
Vice
reports.
President. Did anybody else want to add anything else? Okay, I'll just say reports from the committees I serve on. Their DPW committee is going to be meeting before the next council meeting at approximately 4:30. The beautification committee will set another date to have discussions about areas to beautify throughout the town, and that's all I have right now. Moving forward on the agenda to 7, points of light. Does anybody have any points of light?
Council President?
Yes.
Just to reiterate from the last meeting, a couple of Department of Rec events that are happening. On April 9th at Thomas Jefferson will be the Easter Extravaganza. As Maria had mentioned, on April 24th is the Edison Earth Day here at Lake Papiani. Again, if anyone is interested in doing a cleanup, please email J. Elliott at JELLIOT@edisonnj.gov. On April 1st is the Spring Disabilities Dance at Mini Beeville. I believe that's from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And on the 23rd, the Clara Barton neighborhood will be hosting its annual yard sale as well. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. I first want to mention that the Edison Chamber of Commerce is going to host a Taste of Middlesex at the Pines Manor on March 28th from 5:30 to 8. It's always been well attended, and I believe it is the 25th annual Taste. Also, Edison is hosting the COVID-19 Community Walk-Up Testing events at the William Todt Center on Idlewild Road. We have several dates here for those who are listening. Friday, March 11th, 10 to 3. Friday, March 18th, 10 to 3. Friday, March 25th, 10 to 3. Friday, April 1st, 10 to 3. Friday, April 8th, 10 to 3. Thursday, April 14th, 10 to 3. Friday, April 22nd, 10 to 3. And Friday, April 29th, 10 to 3. Are there any other questions on points light? Anybody else? Any council members have any other comments?
Council President,
Yes.
just want to acknowledge the Indian Americans celebrated Holi, which is also known as the Festival of Color, over this weekend. And it was well received, well acknowledged, and peacefully they celebrated this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Patil. Moving forward to 8 from the Business Administrator, A through C. Any comments from the council members?
Council President?
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes, the C, resolution for the proposal for high-speed broadband. Are they going to meet with the cable committee?
Matt?
I'll certainly recommend that they do.
Or we can defunct the cable committee then, right?
I'm sorry?
Or we can just make that a defunct committee, one or the other.
That's, I can't comment on that. I will convey that message to the group and the mayor.
Could you let me know before the next meeting so I could know whether to recommend to Council President that we get rid of the one committee that I probably am on?
I feel like I'm being baited.
Yes. Yes.
You are.
But yeah, if you can
Yes,
just
all
give me the answer.
seriousness, I will get that to you on Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Actually, I like the idea. We've had a lot of problems with that in the
Yes.
township, so it's a good thing to look into.
Yes.
Thank you.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman
on the
Patil.
same line item, and I agree with Councilman Brescher that would like to see the company that are doing the feasibility study. It's a good step in a process, but at the same token, we need to understand, what they will be bringing on the table in terms of the study, research, etc. And at the same token, I would disagree, Councilman Brescher, that we shouldn't be disbanding the committee because this is not going to happen overnight, and we still need to serve the residents. Throughout the year, we should be scheduling. It's my request, you being a chair of that committee, my request to schedule, I would say, at least a monthly meeting with the cable committee, so we understand what's happening in the town, how far the situation has been improved or it is deteriorating, so that we can address the issues and concern that the residents have. I believe it was Friday, I did receive a call from one of the residents. His bill was almost doubled. And I personally have issue with my own broadband connection. So some of those issues, I'm not saying it's just my issue, but it's our issue altogether, of residents' issue. We must acknowledge that and address that through this cable committee. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Patil. Any other questions from the Business Administrator? Hearing none, moving forward from the Department of Finance, A through D. Any questions from council members? Hearing none, moving on to 10 from the Department of Law, A through C. Any questions from council members?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman
On
Patil?
A, I remember you bringing the amendment to the same ordinance a couple of years ago. So what's different than what the change that was suggested? I know that it was more, the last time, if I remember, it was more about the signage and the hours of operation, etc. But is this something extraordinary change, or the question will be to attorney?
Yes.
Certainly.
Do you have anything on this right now?
Yes, Councilman, there's numerous changes to the existing ordinance, from the fees that will be charged for the license, There are changes to the standards for revocation of that license, services of notice, all the sections are underlined in the ordinance itself. So there are, I'm not sure what was previously proposed and changed, but this is a vast overhaul of the existing ordinance.
Is there a possibility that we can add, especially the areas that we don't want to see these type of businesses, especially around the neighborhood? I didn't see that. I was looking something about the specific zone they should move towards, rather than having it. Yes, we can increase the license fee. We can streamline the, I would say, more of their mode of apprentice, but if we can move them away from the residential facility, I would like to see that. Again, I'm fully in support of this ordinance, but I think we should evolve around, number one is capping the number of licenses, and number two is prohibiting, especially setting up this type of business around the residential neighborhood. The one we kind of talked about, marijuana, we said it shouldn't be around any residential area, and we kind of prohibited pretty much, or restricted them pretty much on one side of the corner of the town. So I would like to see those type of changes. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Patil. Definitely worth looking into. Any other questions from the Department of Law, A through C?
Council President, on B, again, it's a good policy, prohibiting smoking on a public property, but enforcement is going to be the big challenge. We need to have some sort of a provisions, the penalties, the heavy penalties if it is reported. Ordinance is good, but unless and until we enforce, ordinance remains as an ordinance on the piece of paper. So if we can significantly penalize if somebody is violating the ordinance.
Certainly. Well, obviously, the first step is
Yes.
enacting the ordinance itself. Enforcement is given to the police department, the fire department, the rec department, public works, and also the health department. So they're vast, there's many different entities within the township that have the ability to issue summonses. The fines are quite steep. First offense is $250. Second offense, $500, and $1,000 for each subsequent fine. So I think it's a really commitment to stopping smoking in public parks. Obviously, the first step is, of course, creating this ordinance, and then obviously, I'm sure the administrator is aware. We'll make sure that that enforcement is vigorously adhered to. As we move
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Patil.
Used to that ordinance.
From the Department of Planning and Engineering, A through E. Any questions from council members or comments? Hearing none, moving forward from the Department of Public Works, A through D. Any questions or comments from council members?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Brescher?
I know that we're on a beautification committee, and I see that we're ordering flowers and vines. Have we established where they're going yet in the town?
From what small discussions we've had, and you and I have had in the past, is out the south end part of Woodbridge Avenue has not had a lot of beautification. I think we've discussed that as well with John Pointer. So those areas, and like before, we've put a lot of bulbs at all the memorials. So part of the south end of Woodbridge Avenue and all the memorials will be the additional locations as of now that we've discussed. But we can certainly add at our next meeting and see what can be done.
All right, thank you.
And that's also with the hope that we're getting the 75 flower pots that we discussed, which I think will be on the agenda in the future. Is that right, Matt?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Good enough.
Okay.
Council
Any-
President.
Any other questions from council members?
Council President, on the
Yes.
same line item, yes, last year we spent, I think, good amount of money towards Clara Barton flower section. Now this is a good step again. It's a lot of good thing happening today, adding more funds for the beautification. But again, I would say let's look at holistically the entire town rather than looking at these sections. And that's where we start dividing ourselves, pointing out, let's do this one section versus second section. I would put the map of the entire township, look at the public-private properties and see where we can partner, as well as the township can put a foot there to beautify that neighborhood. And I can give numerous examples. If I have to talk about now the north end, it's a large section, right? Look at the Wood Avenue, Inman Avenue, Oak Tree Road, Grove Avenue. There are a bunch of areas, the Plainfield Avenue, New Dover. There are multiple areas where at least on the corners we can find the spot for the beautification. The reason I'm bringing this point is at every entrance of the township, where there is a sign, "Welcome to Edison Township," we should probably target those areas. And I can go on and on, but I'm not specifically mentioning about north end, but it should be throughout the town. That's my ask here.
I agree
Council
with Councilman
President?
Patil. In
Council
fact,
President, are those roads like Inman Avenue, Oak Tree Road, and those major roads, those are state roads? Are they county
They are
roads?
county roads.
County roads, but what he's referring to is having the welcome, where the boundary is, look at welcome. And we've discussed this with a few council members here. In fact, I proposed to the mayor having 16-plus new locations for welcoming people into the town. So not just a small, from a 6x6 to a 20 by 50, depending on where it is. So that's just something we should discuss in the future, where he sits on the budget. But good point raised, and I hope it can be done.
Because where I live on Main Street, you can tell when Metuchen ends and Edison begins, is what I'm saying. Something should be done about it. It should look just as good as Metuchen when you're coming down the street. You shouldn't just say, "Oh, now I'm in Edison."
I don't disagree.
And that needs to be taken care of.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Patil. Any other questions from council members from the A through D and Department of Public Works? Hearing none, moving on to 13 from the Department of Water and Sewer. Any questions from council members? Councilman
Council
Porter?
President, can I get a little bit more clarification on item B in regards to the emergency sanitary system repairs?
He's got one right there.
Based on what we found last year when we had the Harding Avenue debacle, we need that much money and then count. We have problems with our lift stations, a lot of lines. We just did our I&I study. We're waiting for the flow results back. Once we get the results of that, we're gonna do some TV work, some manhole inspection. We'll be spending more money than that money that's on that line item. This is just for emergency repairs for an emergency contractor, but that one job on Harding Avenue was $2.5 million. So, and we have mains that are in really bad shape.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and I appreciate the explanation. Maybe at a separate time, maybe we can review kind of how the bids are laid out, so for better understanding on my end. But I do appreciate the.
On this one, the emergency contract, it's for any repair, any emergency repairs we get on the sewer collection system. This will cover that. Pump stations, the mains, like I said, Harding Avenue. We actually used Fletcher Kramer on that entire job because they were an emergency contractor. We're in the process now of deciding who the emergency contractor is. We put bids out, we're getting them in. So it's anytime we get a repair where we lose a sewer main, then they'll come in and they'll make the appropriate repairs.
Considering you mentioned that the Harding aspect was 2.5 approximately, do you feel that the 3 million is a good number to be at, or?
For right now, yeah, that's what we're going to go with. We are looking, as Matt well knows, we've gone to the water bank. We're looking to do upgrades. We addressed the ACO today to the DEP. That'll be a whole different ballgame, a whole different story, but we have a lot of work to do on the sewer side in the township, a lot of work.
Understood. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Anytime.
Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Porter.
Council President, if Bob, you can stay there, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Sure.
And no question about this specific line item here. This is more for the emergency repairs, anything that could happen throughout the year. Do you think that it's a good idea to bond the significant amount of money so that we can holistically look at the entire sewer system rather than, doing the patchwork.
That'll be done as part of the ACO and the water bank.
If I may, we're working on a comprehensive improvement program. The state of New Jersey, as council may or may not know, has been talking to the township for over a year about the necessary repairs that need to be made to our system to have it function properly and safely. We are in a future meeting, that whole plan will be presented to council. It's extensive. The mayor and I have talked to and have arranged with the Infrastructure Improvement Bank that this is a state facility that basically handles improvements, water and sewer improvements, road improvements, offering a low-interest loans and forgivable loans, et cetera. So it's a very complex arrangement of financing, certainly over millions and millions of dollars in sewer repairs that are being mandated to us. So we're trying to make sure that we do this so that the town isn't sunk financially or even physically. You can't just go out and repair all this stuff. It's years and years and years, decades of neglect, and we're trying to address that now. And so that's all part of what we're talking about. So I appreciate your questions, but this is going to come to you in an entire package shortly. We're just provided the state a return on their suggestions, and we start negotiating that this week, and hopefully that will be resolved. And then once we know where we are, what the state's going to require of us, then we will be coming before the mayor and council, or before the council, sorry, Freudian slip, before the council to explain everything that we're doing and how it will time itself out over the next 10 years.
Sounds good. So if I understood it correctly, the feasibility study is in progress, that what we need in terms of...
Feasibility study?
Yeah.
Yes, all that's, the I&I study's on its third phase. We know where that is. We know where all the problems are. We still have a lot of inspections to do of all our force mains, all our pump stations, all our gravity lines, all that stuff. It's a massive amount of work, and we're getting it done.
I think, hopefully we are reusing the report that was done during the sewage time, because
yeah,
similar study was submitted to this council.
Yes, sir. We have everybody's report. All that's being digested. These are big reports. It's one of the reasons I'm staying on to assist in this effort. It's a tremendous amount of work. And I'm very proud of the fact that, in 3 short months, we have put together a 10-year comprehensive improvement program that before now hasn't been done.
Good. Because we have spent, I would say more than $1 million for that feasibility study during the sewage time, and that's how the proposal was floated, why the privatization was required, and this council has opposed rigorously against that, and hopefully we are repurposing that study.
Oh, sure. We're not going to
reinventing the wheel here.
I do not believe in studying on studying.
Yep. Thank you.
This town has spent money on studies. We are going to use every scrap of that we can. Really, that part has already been incorporated. That's done.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's timing. Now it's what goes first, what's priority, what's not, what can wait. Because you can't have massive amount of improvements. You'll have every road in this town torn up, and you'd hear about that plenty. And that's not the purpose. It's a matter of what we can afford, what we can get done, what we can afford. But we also have to make sure that that we address those areas that are critical to the township and get those things done. And when you're looking at an entire system, that's a lot of work. And, you know, Mr. Smith's department, engineering, everybody's, all hands are on deck, have been certainly since I've been here, and now we're driving it home.
Good. You know, hopefully it comes to the fruition, you know, shortly, because residents are desperately waiting. We spend millions on studying and opposing, and now we said, okay, let's get it done. So hopefully
Yeah,
10
no,
years,
we're-
12 years plan would helpful.
We're done studying. We want to start doing.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
No, thank you, Councilman Patil.
Council President?
Yes,
I'd just like to ask the administration if I can get a copy of, well, I don't need a copy on on our mains, on our pump stations, because I have that from Suez, and that was pretty detailed, I believe, unless, Bobby, was that detailed for the pump stations?
It was pretty detailed, yeah, and we also have the Mott report from 2017 as well. We have both of those.
Okay.
We also have items that were specific on the ACO that the DEP wants us to address immediately. Their timelines are pretty aggressive. They're not realistic, in my opinion. We're going to attack those stations first, and then we're going to go from there. Like Mr. Watkins says, we're going to prioritize once we get all the reports in and the TV work in and the inspections in, and then we're going to prioritize and start knocking it out, hopefully.
Could I see that list that they gave you?
ACO?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we're in negotiations right now on that. We'd like to really get that hammered out with the state. That's all being done this week. And you're going to get a very comprehensive report and presentation on it all.
I get that. Trust me. I mean, we've funded the whole I&I thing. We funded, you know, ways for Bob to measure the water coming in, the water coming out, the water that's leaking. That was all done over the last, I'd say, 2 years. So right now, we should have that data, right? That now you can actually put cameras down and take a look.
Mott is putting the flow data together as we speak, and then the phase 3 of that is going to be the actual physical inspections, and then the TVing of the force mains, the mains.
When you get to that point, that I'd like to see whatever documents you guys produce, or have.
Absolutely will. Absolutely.
And-
I mean,
and-
but we're not there yet, but.
No, Matt, where I'm going with it is I'm not looking for you to give it to me on the Friday before my meeting on a Monday or whatever, you know, that type of thing. I'm looking to have that information when you have it so that I could therefore look at it and then give you questions and,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
that's where I was going with it.
Yes, absolutely. You know, this is, you know, hopefully I don't sound like I'm exaggerating, and hopefully I'm not. But this is probably the biggest investment in Edison Township that anybody's done ever. When you're looking at this much money, and you know, I'm very, very pleased with how we have attacked this to protect not only the system and the safety of the township, but also the financial wherewithal of our residents and all that stuff. All that's being taken into consideration. So you'll get the mountain of paperwork. It'll keep you. We'll sell it as a sleeping regime, but it's very extensive.
Is that for the last 2 years, I guess, I've spoken to Bob a dozen times over, you know, about all of this. Like, this isn't something that's just been going on for the last couple of months. We've
Not
been
at all.
working on this for years.
Not at all. Years and years.
But
yes.
we should be at a point now where you can allocate funds on a long-term basis and come up with a plan, you know, overall to fix it. Like Suez had a plan for us. I think it was 30 years they were going to fix the entire,
Right.
you know, project. So I don't know if you're looking at 30 years or 10 years or.
Well, the complicating factor is that we have the state of New Jersey on our back. They're going to want certain things done at a certain time. How much of that they're going to require is the great unknown right now. So that's why I can't really answer that question, because I don't know to what extent they're going to want something done. If they'll accept our timetable that we've revised based on what they gave us. And so we need to go through that discussion with them and then come to you with it.
Right, because you haven't put together a plan for the state to tell them when you were going to do anything, right?
I did.
Yeah, we
You
did.
did?
They just, I don't know if they have accepted, we don't know if they'll accept it yet.
Okay.
They just got it today,
Oh,
literally.
all right, nope, fine, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Councilman
Council
Brescher.
President.
Moving forward from the Chief of Police, any questions to item A? Hearing none, moving to 15 from the Township of Edison, Township Clerk, A and B. Hearing no comments. 16 from the Councilmember of the Planning Board, John Porter.
Thank you, Council President. The Planning Board met on Monday, March 14th at 7 p.m., and the following items were on the agenda. Resolutions P13-2020 Designer Greetings and P5232 Pagoda Homes. Designer Greetings was a resolution memorializing the approval from the February meeting, and the Pagoda Homes was memorializing the approval of time extension. Under miscellaneous was R139 02202022, areas in need of redevelopment, in which case the board approved for Bignell Planning Consultants to begin the initial study for the areas to see if they meet any of the requirements as for areas in need of redevelopment. Under old business was P10-2018, Open Road BMW of Edison. The applicant had come back to the board for final approval, given field inspection of landscaping and site improvements. Due to certain field conditions with circulation and snow removal issues, relief was requested for 5 missing landscaped islands on site. Additionally, a certain portion of proposed trees were unable to be planted because of the PSE&G high voltage lines. So the applicant sought relief with that and was going to be putting more funds into the tree fund as a condition. This amendment was approved by the board by those able to vote on the matter. New business, P9-2021, Block 728, lots 10 through 20. More commonly known as 142 and 160 Brower Avenue, this property currently contains the Clara Barton American Legion Post 234. The property is approximately 35,000 square feet, 350 wide by 100 deep in the RB residential zone. Applicant sought preliminary and final site plan approval to remove the existing structure, clear the site, and subdivide it to create 5 single-family building lots. The current lots are flanked to the right by BOE property at Hoover, the Clara Barton Heritage in the rear, and residential properties in front and to the left. Variances were sought for the following: lot width and area of 4 of the 5 properties, 67 requested where 75 required, and area of 6775 where 7,500 required, and lot depth for 2 of the 5 properties, 99 feet approximately where 100 feet required. Along with that, 1 waiver for frontage of main road for the 5th house. Professionals provided testimony to the engineering, design, and proposed purpose of the property. The board and its professionals asked several questions, including the fire truck accessibility and turn radius at the end of the cul-de-sac, parking requirements in the event school parking restrictions were ever put in place, and analysis of the proposed lot sizes in comparison to the surrounding lots. The public provided no comments. A motion was made for approval subject to the following conditions. All recommendations as made by the township consultants as indicated in their reports would be complied with, and the applicant would repave the entire width of Brower Avenue from the end of the cul-de-sac up to 300 feet to the end of the property line. The board voted unanimously to approve the application. P10-2021, Block 430, lots 18 and 19. More commonly known as 12 Moist Place, application was for preliminary and final site plan approval to construct a 2-story, 2,468 square foot office building on the currently vacant 8,334 square foot lot at the end of a cul-de-sac entirely in the LB local business zone. The lot is flanked with the vacant residential property to the right, offices in front, and the Lehigh Valley Railroad right-of-way to the left and rear. Applicant did not request any bulk variances, but did seek waivers for parking space requirement, side buffer to the neighboring property, and width of driveway. After hearing the testimony from the professionals and no questions from the public, a motion was made for approval subject to the following conditions. The police department would perform its analysis of the property and provide sign-off. All recommendations as made by the township consultants as indicated in the reports would be complied with, and any change as to the use of the property or to the quantity of employees as testified during the hearing would cause the property to be brought back to the planning board. The board voted unanimously to approve the application. Finally, P5237, Block 162, Lot 3C and 4. More commonly known as 3 Center Street, backing into Hector Avenue, application was for a preliminary and final site approval to subdivide an existing 50,990 square foot residential lot into 5 single-family dwelling lots, with 2 of the lots proposed on Center Street and 3 on Hector Avenue. The division would include a conservation easement between the properties, approximately 9,800 square feet in size. This lot is flanked on all sides by residential homes, and the applicant requested both variances for lot width, seeking 60.85 feet where 75 is required. During testimony, the board requested additional information as to the type of property and sizes for lots that were 300 and 500 feet from the radius of the proposed project, whereas 200 feet detail was provided. Subject to this request, the applicant requested the hearing be postponed until the next planning board meeting to be able to provide the requested additional information. This request was approved by the board with the hearing slated to restart on Monday, April 18th. That was the final application heard. The next meeting, as mentioned, is Monday, April 18th, and that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. Moving forward to unfinished business, ordinances to further consideration, public hearing, and final adoption. Any questions or comments on 02135, 2022? Hearing none. Any questions on 2136, 2022?
Council President?
Yes.
Last council meeting, I did request the information in terms of if there is any help or any additional funding we'll be getting from the state or the county or any other agencies that includes the grants, etc., for this particular property. Through Council President, question to the administrator, do we have any information?
We are working on additional funding sources, such as you mentioned, so that piece is still being worked on. There's a number of sources that are potential, and we are actively working to get that.
So my extended question is, what happens if we approve this $13 million bond, a $12 million bond, and if you get, say, $5 million from those sources?
Right. That will pay off the bond. I mean, that a bond authorization, understand, is just kind of like adopting a line of credit. Mm-hmm. How we pay for that depends on how much we actually spend, and then what funding sources we have. Those funding sources, if they $5 million, to use your example, then that just cuts down our debt. It cuts it by $5 million. So.
Yeah, debt will be cut by whatever the amount that we receive, but we are taxing the resident anyway for.
And we're not. I'm sorry.
This will become a part of the budget indirectly.
It's
right?
not. This doesn't do anything but provides an authorization. Mm-hmm. It does. If you know, you can pass a bond ordinance, an authorization to borrow the money to do that. But if you never use it, then you're never borrowing it. It's not until you actually borrow it. It's kind of like your credit card, you get a line of credit. You don't get charged for that until you actually start using it.
Understood, business administrator. From that standpoint of view, if it is a personal money, I understand, but this is now, if this is not the way the government works, right? Once this council approves this bond amount, and if you don't use it, you don't come back and say, guys, amend this ordinance and cancel this debt. This gets repurposed somewhere, unfortunately.
Actually, you do come in and cancel debt. We do it all the time.
I have not seen in my 6 years on this council
well,
dais that anybody coming and
I-
canceling the debt service.
Yeah, I don't
People have
know.
repurposed, I believe me, people have repurposed the funding, and I can go on and on, but I don't want to open the can of worm here. If we know what amount we need, and again, I'm fully in support of that. My only I would say the ask here is, once we know the final amount, I would expect this administration come back to this council with the amended ordinance and say, guys, we are not going to use $12.3 million. We are going to use, say, 7 million or 6 million or whatever the amount that is.
However, if they want to do that way, they can, they can do that. It's, well, if we get $5 million in grants, we just use the $5 million to pay down the debt that we actually incur when you purchase the property. We'll just reduce that debt by that much. So, you don't, and if you don't use it all, let's say for whatever reason you pass a bond ordinance for authorization for $12 million, you only use 10, you have 2 million sitting there. From time to time, we go through and cancel debt. You've done it. I think you actually, I don't know what you've done in the past, but that's what you do. I mean, it happens all the time. I don't know what they did last year when they did all the debt reconciliation. I know they did a big reconciliation last year and got rid of a lot of leftover authorizations. I don't want to say it's debt because you never borrowed the money. Right. It's just the authorization. So what authorization we don't need, well, certainly it gets canceled. You don't go, and if let's say, if your concern is, well, we're authorizing $12 million, we only use 10, now are you going to take that other $2 million and do something else with it? We can't do that. The only way we could do that is if we came back to you and said, can we use that $2 million to do this? It's the only way.
Let me ask other way around. Say by 12.3 million, we bond, everything goes fine, we purchase the property, and then after 6 months, 8 months, you receive those $4, $5, $6 million, which was supposed to be for this bond. Now we already borrowed the money.
Right.
Right? The property is already closed. That 6 million goes in surplus now.
No.
Where
it goes to pay off that portion of that debt.
But that's where I would like to see this bond get amended, that we are paying $6 million down, so our balance goes down.
You could do that if you want. I deferred to the attorney, but I've never seen it done that way. We just use the money to pay off the debt.
I believe you'd be obligated to do so, to pay off the debt. I don't think you can.
Yeah, we couldn't do something else. No. We couldn't definitely couldn't take it into general funds or anything like that. No. Absolutely can't. Right. So we just use it to pay off the debt, and you're out of debt faster.
As long as this council gets notified that, what that additional fund we got and we are paying toward this specific debt, I'm good enough. That communication needs to happen. That's my ask is.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what you're
Okay, let me rephrase it. Say $12.3 million, we bond it, we purchase the land, we close, everything is all done. And after a fact, you receive, say, $6 million from county, state, right. Some grants. Okay. That $6 million you are going to pay towards this debt.
Yes.
Right? That notification has to come to the council saying, guys, by the way, we bonded 12.3, we are paying off the debt $6 million. This is our balance.
I imagine we would say that with a big bullhorn, yeah.
No, saying and doing is different thing, but I would like to see that communication back to this council.
I can't imagine that not being done.
Okay. That's my ask. Again, I'm putting this officially record. That
Sorry it took so long to get there. I just was missing that. Okay. Yeah, you would absolutely, we'd crow real loud about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Patil. Are there any members from the council for 2136, 2022? Hearing none, moving to 2137, 2022. Any comments from the council members? Hearing none, moving forward to 18 for discussion items. From my left, Councilman John Pointer.
None, sir.
Okay. Councilman Anish Patil. I'm sorry, Councilman Patil.
Council President, actually, our engineer is not here. I wanted to ask him the progress on our Calvert Avenue, Stephenville Parkway project, the engineering project that was, I think the design was ready. Just wanted to ask him the update, but I'll wait for
Can we
that.
write that down, Madam Clerk? Which three do you have again, one more time? Stephenville Parkway?
Calvert and Stephenville Parkway,
Okay.
the design and engineering, engineering has finished the design and everything, so just wanted to know the status, what's next.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Matt, would you
Yeah,
relay that to engineering?
I'll find out.
Send an email back to Councilman Patil. Councilmember Nish Patel?
None, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Brescher?
Yes, Council President, I have some questions. I think the BA doesn't get any today, but the attorney does. So I have some questions. Last meeting, I asked about us having laws that we don't follow, and where do we, and let me tell you where I'm going with it. Right now, we have an expired promotional list. If right now the test was given, or if the test was given when it was supposed to be given 2 months ago, right? 10 people would qualify for promotions, let's say, for any group. If it takes us another 4 months or 6 months and we change the criteria and we give it out, and now all of a sudden there's 30 people that qualify, but the original 10 don't score highly enough, my concern is that they have a legitimate case saying if the township followed its laws, I would have been in that ranking of those 10 people. Therefore, I was skipped over, and now the township's open to litigation. And that's my concern. So we haven't taken any progressive steps to give the testing, yet the police don't do that. Now, it's concerning because if you can't get your police department to follow the laws that you made, how do we expect the public? Now, that's just one. Now, I have another one that I'd like you to look into. It's 1658-2008.
Councilman, can you give me that citation one more time?
Yes.
Thanks.
1658-2008. And I'd like to see if you can get me a list of everybody that takes cars home.
Okay.
Because I believe that's another avenue there where, again, we have a law and we're not following the law.
Well, we'll certainly provide a list to the extent that it's available, if there is such a list.
Well, you can get a list. I got one last year, so
Okay.
unless this administration is looking to hide
And that's
something,
why I said to the extent that it's available. If it's, certainly if it's available, you'll get it.
it's available.
Okay, then you'll get it.
It was available last year, so you can give me last year's list if you want. You can go to the old administration if you can't find it. Now, here's a question for the clerk. I need to get a list. I understand that we just did a hiring list for the fire department, and it was certified, I believe, sometime in January that it was actually certified. The problem I have is that I was sitting on this council, and not at one time did this council appoint 3 people to the oral boards for the fire department. So we made a hiring list, yet the council is supposed to appoint 3 people. Again, it's a law. That is 1800-2012. The mayor appoints 4 people, the council appoints 3. But I don't recall this council ever approving anybody to sit on the oral boards for the fire department. So I don't know if that's a clerk or a lawyer thing or an administration thing, but it's a law, and I believe it's being violated because I didn't vote on it. I did miss, I think, a meeting last year, so maybe during that meeting, it might have happened. I don't know.
I'm sorry, you said to the something board, and I couldn't hear the word you used.
Yes, it's like an oral board.
An oral board, is that what
Well,
you said?
okay, when you hire people, right, if you read that statute, you're going to see that they have to take a test. They got to achieve like a 70 or 75. That counts for like a third. And then there's like an oral interview process, right? And the people on that oral interview process, 4 of the people are appointed by the mayor. The other 3 are appointed by this council, of which I'm a member, and I don't remember ever appointing anyone to that board. So that would just be odd to me that,
Are you suggesting, Councilman, that the council would have a vote, would have some authority in the hiring of firefighters? Is that the?
no, the council appoints the people to do the oral interview. If you read that statute, you're an attorney and all, right? I mean, I'm pretty
Yes, I
sure
am.
you're going to, I can read it to you, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out yourself. there.
Okay, I'll certainly read it.
But I'd like an answer from you, because I asked some other questions to you. Like I did ask about 1851-2013. You don't want to write that down, do you?
Oh, I have your list that you
Oh.
previously provided, and I intended to give you answers to those questions in writing by Wednesday's meeting. So that was my
By
intention.
Wednesday's meeting?
Yes.
Okay, that's that one in 1821-2013.
You said 1851.
1851.
If it's anyone that you provided me an email with, I think, 5 or 6 ordinances for
Yes.
review. I intended to have a written response to you by this Wednesday.
Okay.
The 2, though, that you've provided now, I will have for you for the following meeting, not this Wednesday, but for the following.
Promotional list, right, promotional list was one of those items from the other one. The car ordinance,
No, the promotional list was not on the email that you sent me.
no, it wasn't on the email. On the email, I think I sent you 3.
I think it was a couple more, but that's all right. Well, either whatever was on that, you'll certainly have
2
it.
were state statutes
Okay.
that I highlighted in there. Okay, then I need the promotional list, right? And we break the law, and what do we do about that? I don't know. Do you write someone up for it, or do you fine them? Do you fine yourself? I don't know what we do for that. The car ordinance, right? Give me a list of who drives home vehicles. And the fire, the 3 people by the council. And when do we get to appoint them? And how did they, maybe, Matt, maybe you could find out, how they were able to produce a fire hiring list when the council didn't appoint someone?
I'll have to look at the ordinance, I don't know.
Okay.
Their ordinances?
These are township ordinances, yeah. Since I'm on like
change
virtually no committees, I've decided and taken it upon myself, since I'm a councilman, I'm charged with looking over ordinances, that I'm going to go through every ordinance and make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable like we want the public. Like,
Councilman Brescher, and to that point, though, I think before we look at the enforcement of the ordinances, we have to also look at their legality. For instance, you raised one of the ordinances you raised was the fact that all hires over $50,000 had to be approved by the governing body. That doesn't gel with the Faulkner Act at all.
Well,
So,
I
in the ordinances that you provided, I think the threshold question is it a valid and legal ordinance under our form of government? So I think so with any of these ordinances, we'll perform that analysis first before we look at
this
its
is where I'm
enforcement.
going, right? Because like the law firm, in fact, your law firm was here during that time.
I don't believe so, actually. I don't know. I think it was in the Choi administration.
I looked in 2013.
Well, which ordinance are you referring to? The one that I'm referring to?
2013? No, the year 2013.
Yes. Lou was not here, no. I wasn't here, I can
No,
speak for
you
myself.
weren't here. You weren't here. And the head attorney looks like he was the attorney that now is with Northgrave's firm.
Carl Kim.
Yes,
You're referring to Carl Kim.
yes.
Okay.
So all of this did take place. I'm sure there were conversations, I mean, if it was something highly illegal, I'm sure somebody would have brought this up. And if a law firm wrote something up that was highly illegal, like you're alleging, could
I would say
possibly be.
it's not enforceable, Councilman. That's what I would say. I would say that to have, if I can't speak to how it arrived or where, or who reviewed it or who prepared it, but if the ordinances that you raise, if I look at it and I can clearly see that it doesn't it doesn't, it's not permissible under the Faulkner Act, I have to bring that to your attention. I'd be remiss if I didn't.
Right. I mean, the Faulkner Act does allow certain things to happen, like state rules, right? State regulations.
Well, it is a state law, the Faulkner Act, yeah.
Yes. And can a council make something more restrictive?
No. No, it cannot take the authority away from the mayor and give it to itself if it violates the Faulkner Act. You can't be in direct contravention of the Faulkner Act. And for instance, the one I raised were regarding that, the council's approval of all jobs over 50,000, that's not permissible because you're taking away an authority of the mayor, because under the Faulkner Act, the mayor has the ability to hire all subordinate officers other than department heads without advice and consent of council.
So then we would need a budget in January to know that everything could happen, right?
Well, I'm just telling you, this is.
Otherwise,
this
how
is
do
the-
we
yeah.
know? How do we know financially that we could support what we're proposing?
Well, you obviously, you have a temporary budget you adopt in January.
Right.
And the mayor is subject to the restrictions of that budget. So my point being is that I understand you're raising all these ordinances and you've provided them, and we're gonna certainly look at all of them, but a threshold question that we're performing is it even valid?
Right.
So,
So,
yeah.
so if
Yeah.
it was
Some
an
may be,
illegal-
so I'm just saying that one
if
specifically was not.
If it was an illegal law,
Yeah.
right, and whoever made it up, North Gray's firm, whatever firm made it up, I'm going to look to them for answers how they could have made up a law that doesn't. I mean, we hire you as the township attorney, and I believe that the information that you give us is correct and just. I believe that from my entire life living here. What you're telling me now is that one of the attorneys we have did something that was illegal, that they had no right to do. And being
I
an
would say that it was
attorney-
unenforceable.
Being an attorney with municipal law, they should know that this is something that,
You're placing it at the foot of the attorney, I wouldn't necessarily that's the case. I don't know if the council at that time adopted it without the advice of council. I can't speak to what that attorney said or did or didn't do. All I can tell you is what I'm looking at in front of me.
well, I'll tell you what. Shortly, we should have a councilman, I think by the name of Robert Deal. He was a councilman here. And I think he should be working for the administration shortly. And Mr. Deal was one of the people that put this together, this law. So it's going to be nice to see what his take is on a law that you're telling me could be fictitious.
I can only speak to what's in front of me. That's all I can do.
No, it's okay. Believe me, I can ask the administration to talk to Bob Deal once he gets on board. Things should be shortly. Do we have a time frame when Mr. Deal's coming on board?
I'll check and see. I don't know exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you, David. Look forward to that. And let's see. I asked the last meeting, we were talking about the funds for the memorial. And I asked a question about whether we could get matching funds if the unions donated money, or if it had to be done by the township. Did we get anything on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize the
I would ju-
question.
I-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I had just spoke on that when I was talking about the meeting that we had with the veterans, with that, what he said. I spoke on that, and I spoke to them, and they said they would give me the answer next week about that. I would get the answer from that information.
They're going to
From
give
the
you an answer
Veterans
next
Committee.
week?
Excuse me?
They're going to give you an answer next week?
Yes, yes.
Oh, who's
And
that?
I'll make sure you get it.
Oh, no, I know. I asked the attorney last week.
Yeah.
The question being, could the unions donate to the,
To an organization and get the county matching funds because it's for a park?
I will
Or would it have to come from the township?
provide you the answer on Wednesday.
All right, thank you. That's it, Council President,
Thank you, Council
for
Pastor.
today.
Okay.
Next, Councilmember George Freeman.
Yeah, I spoke about that, I spoke about the $10,000 and whether the unions gave us money or not. I spoke to the mayor and stuff about that particular amount of money. Also, which happened on Saturday, Saturday, the Woodrow Wilson School System held a History Day. Now, that was exciting, great, the best thing you could have went to. Our kids are so culturally astute. They just the better people because they go out and the information that they did and worked on those special history projects was out of this world. Excellent. Some of them that was history for them, I knew it in real life, but so I can ask really good questions for them. But the different topics that they had and the different stuff that they studied and the amount of exhibits, they put on shows, oral shows. They had also movies and stuff to go with the information that they got together. It was just a great time at all. Then going in the afternoon to the International Women's Day at TV Asia. That was another great experience for me. I think the Lions Club had it, and it was very good because that was the first time I had experienced laughing yoga, and it was really fun and really interesting. So, like I tell people, if you get out into the community and you see different things, you get more involved with the people, then you'll know what things need to be done. And some people were asking me also about sidewalks. If they're cracked, what would they do? And what do they do to get the sidewalks fixed? And if it's in the county section, I told them I would ask you, if it's in the county section, who then do they see about getting the uneven sidewalks taken care of?
Yes, unfortunately, and I'll have David speak to this issue as well. Sidewalks typically, not always, but typically, are property of the property that is on the property owner. So if they have an uneven sidewalk, provided it's not the township sidewalk, it is the property owner's sidewalk, they have to get it fixed at their expense. Now, I don't know what they do here exactly in Edison, how they handle those. A lot of times towns will fix sidewalks as a part of a street reconstruction, but generally speaking, sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay, and then also was brought to my attention for people that's on the education committee along with me, brought to my attention, they said they, with the think tank together, they are going to set up the website in such a way that it would be more user-friendly. So when when you click down on each one, each problem that you want to go through would be that pertain to education itself. You just click on it and it would all bring all the information to you, which I think is a good thing. I think all websites should be made friendly to each and every person. They should be made friendly. And the last thing, someone asked me about the senior citizen place, and they said that they wanted to make donations toward the seniors. I mean, like a one-time thing, but they wanted to make donations toward everybody in, around town. I told them that a good thing to be given out now would be gas cards. I said a lot of people would, like to have a gas card because they're expensive, but there are some people that now have they have what you call those nonprofit organizations in which they want to help and they want to do things for our town and they want to do something. So I don't turn down anything that somebody wants to do for us and at no cost to us. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Vice President Joy Shipp. I am the last one for committee reports. I have nothing to discuss. A motion to adjourn the work session.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilman Patil. Second.
Second.
Councilman Pointer, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.